Hello and welcome to my channel. I'm Michaela Peters. So we're gonna do my classic morning coffee video to do a throwback to my more initial videos in Finland where I explained how much this cup is sentimental to me. And kind of just telling stories about life in Finland. So I have thought a lot over the last week about shifting. That's obviously the baby. Shifting the focus of this channel to maybe more about travel and Finland stuff and cultural stuff, and away from just talking about random crap in my personal life. But at the same time, I feel like that's kind of what makes the channel interesting, because then I'm like a real person with real problems. But I don't know. I've grown a little bit in paranoia of like how much sharing certain things can affect the trajectory of the channel. And maybe still kind of keeping it to like mental health and autism and ADHD and whatnot. So we're going to see what that looks like. But really, I want to tell stories, as I have been, because some of those videos have really been most effective. And so basically I'm going to talk about my first few days here in Finland. I came back to Finland on Saturday night. So I understand that it's like I travel with a baby and it's very impressive, and how do I keep it all together? The secret is I don't, and there are a lot of times where I drop the ball, and this Saturday was one of them. So I had an SAS flight from Greece. We had our Mediterranean cruise last week, which I think I'll make a separate video eventually talking about that. But my SAS flight to Finland from Greece was originally scheduled for Saturday. They made an adjustment to the schedule. I did not realize it was both a date and time adjustment, so I accepted. Yeah, she has something to say too, because this was not fun. The time adjustment was what I looked at, but it was a date adjustment, so basically they were flying me out the next day. Okay, so I show up at the airport, and I'm like, where's my flight? And then I go to this lady at the counter, and she's like, yeah, your flight's tomorrow. And I was like, oh my god. Because I already packed up all my stuff, and you know, you're packing for yourself and the baby. It is twice the amount of not forgetting things. So essentially, they were very kind to me, and they were able to put me on a flight that same day that just got in 4 or 5 hours later than I thought I was going to get in. But I didn't have to leave and come back to the airport, so I was grateful. So instead, my layover was in Copenhagen instead of Stockholm like it was supposed to be. Recently, I've kind of started this thing in the last 4 months, and maybe it's because of having the baby, of making friends with people on the airplane. I think I've now made like 3 friends on the airplane in the last 4 months. Friends is a loose term that I like to use loosely because it makes me feel better. I don't know how she feels about that, but and maybe the friendliness freaks people out sometimes, but sometimes it doesn't. And that's kind of what this whole thing is going to be about in the end. So we went to Copenhagen. By the way, those are super cool airport strollers. Okay, I need to like actually show a picture of these, because I thought this was one of the most brilliant designs I'd ever seen. So essentially, you can take the child, if you have one, and put it in like this little cart thing, which now that my child sits up, this was incredibly useful. And then the rest of your luggage you can put in there like a regular luggage cart, and you can get to your gate more easily. My child is now getting so large, she's approximately like 23 pounds or 11 kilos or something like that. She's probably more now. That, like, carrying her through an airport in the baby carrier is pretty hard. I use the baby carrier to get her on and off of the airplane because obviously I'm doing this by myself and I only have so many hands. I was really grateful on this trip that I don't think I've ever had so many people offer to help me. People were like trying to carry my bags for me and push my suitcases for me, and like kept asking me if I needed help. Sometimes I did, sometimes I didn't, and I was incredibly grateful. And this was in any country I was, regardless of like where the person was from. So on the way to Denmark, I talked to this girl who actually works in a funding office for EU funding for PhDs, and I was like, cool, that's really a useful contact. And so I got her number. Cool. Networking. Then on the second flight, there were these random Swedish ladies in front of me who were like, oh, the baby. And then I'm like, do you want to hold her? And they're like, yeah. And then they held her for like half the flight and they were all happy. And I got to write in my journals because I keep a running journal for my child to give to her when she turns 18. So I took some time to write in that and kind of say, okay, this is what we were doing this week. So we get in late, of course. It's like 9:30. She was not in the best mood. It's now morning, and she went to bed last night at like 7 p.m. or 8 p.m. I think it was probably 8 p.m. and woke up at 7 a.m. That would be cool, 24-hour sleep. No, that's dangerous. Okay, so I basically don't need an alarm clock anymore because I have a baby. So, yeah, we get back to Helsinki, and, it's just kind of like, I can't really describe the feeling that I have every time I land in Finland. It really is just like, is this what taking a Xanax must feel like? I don't know. Like, I really can't think of a better comparison. Like, it's just, I feel very calm. It's like the lack of stimulation, just like the cleanliness, the way the buildings are designed, and like, I don't know, it's just peace inside of me. So, then I'm going to stay at my friend's house. We see my friend, they're happy to see each other, her and the baby. I'm happy to see her as well, but obviously I'm less important than the baby at this point. And we go to sleep, we wake up the next day, walk around Helsinki, and I'm like, yeah, I'm just like vibing with life right now. I feel so chill and so zen, and I love this. It's kind of cool that, a whole year later, I'm getting a similar experience as I had last year because, I took off a month before I gave birth and just kind of like did nothing. It's kind of the repeat of it this month. So my goals for the month would include trying to be more active on regularly, publishing YouTube videos. What else am I trying to do? Business stuff, seeing friends, but I don't really have as much of an agenda this time as I normally do. Like, I know what days I'm going to be in certain locations, but like who I'm hanging out with and what I'm doing, we're going to fill in the blanks with that later. So, we're with my friend on Sunday, then we go back to Lappeenranta. I had no clean clothes. I immediately did 4 loads of laundry upon returning, even though it was very late at night. Did not care because, dirty laundry, disgusting. So, and I got all the stains out of the clothes from all the food I spilled on all the clothes, including my clothes and the baby's clothes. It was crazy. Yeah, we tried doing laundry on the boat, like the cruise ship, and it did not work, and that's a whole separate discussion where... Yes? Where I reviewed that cruise line. So, now I'm going to tell a more interesting story, which is that I'm on the train, and there's a woman who gets on the train, and she has a baby with her, and she has a sling, and I'm, like, thinking, like, how the heck do you do anything with a baby with one arm? And so, like, I naturally felt a great deal of empathy for this woman, and her baby kept crying, and I felt so bad, and I go up to her, and I'm just like, hey, if you need any help, please let me know. I'm like, if you need me to change the baby's diaper or something, I can do it, like, right here on the seat. I mean, yeah, so she can see that I'm changing her diaper. I don't know, whatever. I'm like, or if you want to sit down and you want me to take her out and hand her to you or anything, just let me know, because I'm like, I can only imagine like how hard this must be. And really, it's like, there is no worse feeling than your child crying because they need something and you can't give that to them. Like the time I was driving 7 hours from Maryland, and at the last 20 minutes, she just would not stop screaming. And yeah, do you know what the word scream is? Which is what you're doing right now. Let's throw a toy at her. Actually, we got this on the cruise ship for free. She just kept getting free stuff. Like, really, people like babies. There you go. Okay. So, she was very grateful. The baby went to sleep. So then we talked about, like, a lot of things, parenting, birth experiences, whatever. Now that I'm a parent, this opens up a whole new avenue of things I can talk to people about, besides all the other random common interests I may have with somebody. So I ended up actually making friends with her, and then, turns out she sprained her arm running. Her husband's on a business trip, and her parents live here, so she was coming to see them to get help. And so I'm like, if you want to hang out, let me know. So we ended up hanging out and chatting and stuff, and it was pretty cool. And, I super enjoy hanging out with Finnish people. The thing I never really get is that people are like, Finnish people are so shy and closed off and never talk to strangers. Like, I don't know. I do, and, are like more apprehensive to help people. So she was kind of like shocked, not necessarily shocked, but like, I don't know what the right word is, but, it was funny because afterwards she said, if I didn't have the sling, we wouldn't have met because you wouldn't have asked to help me. We probably wouldn't have talked. And I was like, yeah, probably, because I don't really like try to talk to Finnish people out of turn because I know it makes them uncomfortable. Actually, coming from the airport, because I had 2 suitcases and a stroller, this one random Finnish guy actually helped me kind of like put my luggage in a spot where I wasn't going to keep like moving around on the bus. And turns out he was just coming back from a business trip in the US. The really interesting thing is both these people I'm talking about are teachers in Finland, which is pretty cool. So yeah, but I'm just giving examples of like, people are like, oh, you're so good at making friends. And I'm like, I just be nice to everybody. And then, sometimes I make friends. I don't know. Yeah, I have a lot of friends. It's really hard to keep up with it. So I try so hard, but it's really a lot of work. But I enjoy it. It's not really work if you enjoy it, right? So yeah, in the end, we made friends and we hung out yesterday, and that was pretty cool. And really, this baby just goes to anybody. I feel like she's bringing a lot of joy to random people's lives because she is just very friendly and I don't know. And people are like, she doesn't really cry. She talks now. This is like communicating. Yes, what would you like? She's like, why aren't you paying attention to me and why are you staring at the computer? Although I think she's seen me doing YouTube videos her whole life, so she's probably used to it. But, yeah, I've had a great experience so far. It's just like, these are the kinds of experiences that I would never have in the US because of the fact that people, like, there's no public transportation. Like, I'm telling stories of things that happen on public transportation and on airplanes, and it's just not gonna happen to me in the US. But yeah, the first few days, as usual, doing laundry, compulsively cleaning my floors because OCD or something. I don't really know why I do that, but no, it's probably more of an autism thing because like the tactile sensation of walking on dirty floors, I can't handle it. That's where that comes from. There is a comorbidity, by the way, of 20% between OCD and autism, in case nobody knew that. You can look it up. If you don't believe me, fact check. So that's kind of all I got. I'm here this month handling some tenant stuff and some baby stuff, let's say. So gonna make it a good month. But that's really all I have to say is just the first few days in Finland have been like awesome as usual. And, I come here and I already start like dreading when I'm gonna go back to the US, and it's like that every time, so maybe that's the universe's way of trying to tell me something, but if that's what's going on, we need a better system in terms of how I'm going to pay all my bills, and that part I have not discovered yet. One way is probably I do want to reduce the amount of traveling that I'm doing, especially once she turns 2, forget it, and yeah, so reducing traveling, and that's probably the biggest one, because traveling obviously costs money. Yeah, that would be good. And, if financially you have 2 options, which is either lower expenses or increase income, and we can try doing both of those simultaneously. So, yeah, things are good. I'm very grateful for how I'm feeling right now, which is good. I'm not feeling overwhelmed or anything. I'm just feeling chill, and this was a break I needed, so I guess we're gonna have a good month. And I will try to talk about some other relevant topics on this channel during that time. So, thank you for your continued support of my channel, and until next time, bye.